Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here at my next Star Wars Rebels episode review. This one's going to be for the episode Fighter Flight. I'm going to ask a question right now. What way do you guys want me to do the numbering for these episodes? Because I think last time around I called Droids in Distress 102, when I think officially it's considered 101 because the Spark of Rebellion movie is like considered like its own thing. Kind of in the same way the Clone Wars movie is not part of season one, it's just kind of like the opening movie. So I'm probably going to title this one 103, but let me know if you want me to switch to the other numbering where like 103 would actually be next week's episode. But enough about that. Fighter Flight. It's an episode like about 5-6 minutes in, I was a little worried that this was going to be another one of those like episodes like the Clone Wars episodes where R2 and C-3PO are sent out to get a fruit, a Jogan fruit, and I was worried that this is just going to be another one of them. And I'm already blanking on the fruit's name, which is I find hard to believe just because I literally finished watching the episode like 2 minutes ago and I have no idea what the fruit is called, even though they said it like 20 times in the episode. So I really apologise about that, but it kind of shows the importance of that fruit in the universe. It began with an M or something like that, but either way, I don't think the fruit itself was overly important. It was just kind of like the thing of the episode that they were after. Once the title became clear and that like, oh, the key part of this episode isn't the fruit, it's actually what Ezra and Zeb do with the TIE fighter that they stole. And I was just like, yes, this is a pretty cool idea for an episode, and it was actually really fun. Zeb, I still think even after the last episode, probably for me is probably the least interesting member of the group. But given that he's had kind of focus now in the first, two normal episodes after the movie, I actually really like him, and he's just kind of like, oh, cool. All of the group are interesting to me. There's not like one member that's kind of like, I don't really mind. I'm super interested in all the other characters, and now Zeb is kind of up there as well. So that was a pretty cool thing that these recent episodes have done. And then the main focus of the episode was just on showing the teamwork between Zeb and Ezra, given that they were fighting at the start. And the actual opening kind of sequence of the episode was worked really well. Just the whole idea of you start off with a kind of continuation from the last time around of obviously Ezra's had some sort of training between episodes from Kanan and is trying to like lift something up using the Force, and then you get the kind of troll chopper moment where Ezra thinks he's kind of like lifting it up, but he's not even rocking it a bit, and Chopper is just lifting it up from behind. That was really funny, and then just the way he chases Chopper through the ship down to Sabine's room. He then tries to kind of put the charm on with her. She has none of it. He goes into his room, which is also Zeb's room, and they have an argument. Ezra gets up in his bed. The bed falls through because Chopper made a mistake, and Sabine finds inspiration in this and decides to paint their room, which was a kind of side plot of the episode. And that like there's only like 2 or 3 scenes with Sabine in them, but they all kind of reference the fact that she was doing something in their room and was painting. Which I thought was pretty interesting. That's obviously part of her character, that she's an artist. So that was cool. And obviously by the end of the episode we get what it is. It's just like she found that moment so funny where like the middle of the bed just fell through and the two of them were just looked like idiots. So it was pretty fun, and I hope like every time they go back into that room they maybe find a way to shoot the scene where like you can see that in the background. That would be cool continuity to have. But obviously with the rest of the episode, Zeb and kind of Ezra are blamed for this whole incident, even though it was technically Chopper's fault for like messing with everyone. And they're just sent out by Hera to find this, get supplies plus find this fruit that's going to be impossible for them to find, basically as a way to get the two of them to kind of work together to get something that's seemingly impossible. And so through this you get like they're kind of angry at each other at the start, and then like when they're forced into kind of life-saving situations they kind of begin to come together, and then they play up the whole thing of obviously Ezra saved Zeb, I think in the last episode, saved his life, and he's been using that against him ever since. And then Zeb gets him back and that he saves Ezra's life, and they're kind of even. And through this whole episode you kind of see them just working together and kind of come together as friends. So that was pretty cool. And by the episodes, they're chuckling together, and you realize that they're not so different, even though one's the kind of big bruiser character, one's the kind of thief, kind of sarcastic guy. They still work quite well together. So that was really cool, and the whole sequence with the TIE fighter was brilliant. In that, like, obviously they find the fruit, they go to steal it, it all goes wrong. Ezra runs off. Zeb seemingly is about to get captured, and then inadvertently ends up kind of stealing a TIE fighter, and then has to learn to fly it on the fly. Basically, it was really fun, and then you kind of get just a reaction as they have to report back, and they kind of reveal that, yeah, we sort of stole a tie, and they're like, what did you do? We sent you out to get some fruit, and look what you've done. And that was really cool, because you really see more of the kind of dynamic even back at the ship while they're away, and that's Sabine's kind of the teenager, she's like, no, you can't say this until it's done, and Hera's clearly the mother, and Kanan's clearly the father kind of figure. So even though she actually said in like previous episode, like we're like a family, and you really see that come out here in this episode. That's definitely the dynamic going on here. And yeah, there's some pretty cool like action scenes in general, just with the ship, and then you kind of get you get the TIE fighter, and then the troop transports, and the other kind of side plot in the episode where Ezra sees a kind of fruit seller who is a friend of his parents, and you can see that they kind of get on well, and there's this thing that the Empire wants to buy his farm, but he didn't want to sell, so they just kind of captured him and took his farm, and so that's what they used the TIE fighter for, to basically mount a rescue operation to, first of all, free these prisoners, and then get the fruit as well, because they're eager to do this to kind of prove themselves, which worked really well. That was a thing, and that like it wasn't just like that the fruit disappeared halfway through the episode, and then randomly like Ezra pulls one out of his backpack, like hey, I got one. They actually made a huge deal about tracking the fruits that the Empire had bought, and that it was a big focus of like the fight scenes, that Ezra was like protecting himself with the fruit, throwing the fruit, and made sure to grab one and have one there, and you can get the moment like the stormtrooper's like, you did all this for a fruit, and he's kind of like, yeah, sort of. So that was pretty fun. And yeah, just some of the stuff kind of going on with the farmer was interesting, in that like it kind of sets up stuff for backstory, but at the same time, like I don't really remember ever having an episode of Clone Wars or any of the movies really having like literally a shown flashback. I've never seen that happen in Star Wars. Like maybe in the comments you can point that out, but I really can't remember like any time where they've literally shown a flashback, like say Avatar does. It seems to be something that isn't used in Star Wars, and they've made a purpose attempt to not use that kind of technique. But I'd like to see it used in Rebels. Maybe it's the George Lucas thing. He doesn't like showing flashback. He likes just having characters reference stuff from the past and not showing it to us. But maybe we may actually get some flashback scenes, because I think, given like that we know how long, especially Kanan and Hera have been together as a kind of crew, it'd be interesting to actually see some of this stuff from the past, like see how Sabine joined the crew, see how Zeb joined the crew for the first time, because we know how Ezra joined the crew, and that's the series basically, but we don't know a lot of the other stuff. And then there's just in general like Hera's backstory, full on, because obviously her second name is a reference to, it's clearly she's related to one of the characters from the Clone Wars. I think it's season 1 or 2, the Ryloth finale. I can't remember the guy's name, but it's something Syndulla, and that's Hera's second name, and she may be his daughter. I think that would probably work out in terms of the ages and stuff like that. So, and he was kind of a rebel himself against the kind of separatist, and maybe he's gone against the Empire as well. So that would make sense. Just clearly backstory there. But yeah, it's something I'd like to see. Just there's a lot of potential in this show for backstory, because in the Clone Wars you can kind of understand why they didn't do any backstory, because we kind of know the character's backstory just because we've seen Star Wars Episode 1, 2, and 3, and there's like books and comics and stuff like that. But this time around, it's new characters. It's a time setting in this universe that hasn't really been explored too much. So there's a lot of potential just through this to show us that backstory. Though I think they're going to do backstory mainly in comics. I think there's a comic coming out next year that deals with Kanan and his backstory. I think there's one focusing on Leia, but again, I'm not really sure. I'll probably be getting those. Maybe I'll review them. Depends on when they're obviously coming out and stuff like that. But back to the episode, I suppose. Anything else to mention? Other than that, it's just like it's very fun. Just seeing these characters interact, full stop together is really fun. There's a nice dynamic between all of these characters, and I'm super eager to learn more about them. And while it wasn't a plot focused episode, and where's the Inquisitor doing? Obviously that was at the end of the movie. He was told about them. When's he going to come into things? What is the just general plot? Because right now the first two normal episodes after the mini movie have been, they've been good, but they've been just mainly I say character introduction episodes. Just focusing on the relationships rather than there's an actual goal for this group. Right now, again, this episode it really had no plot, but it was a fun event to happen. In that, as I said, it started off with just a disagreement between Chopper and Ezra, and ended up that Hera got annoyed with them for wrecking the ship, sends them out on this mission to get the fruit. They steal a TIE fighter by mistake. They don't purposefully do that to interrupt the Empire. They do it by mistake trying to steal a fruit, and end up, saving Ezra's friend, but it wasn't a planned event. It wasn't a goal of the group. It just kind of happened. And then in the previous episode, that has a hint of plot in that Bail Organa sees them. He's going to look at the footage and see that maybe Kanan's a Jedi, and realize that there's potential for an Empire, and maybe there'll be a side plot with him. But right now with the Ghost team on board the ship, there's no aim for them in terms of we know that they're kind of rebels, and they're going to disrupt the Empire in whatever ways they can. But what's the end goal for them apart from just taking down the Empire? So I'm waiting to see what that plot is, because without that, I think episodes like this, week to week, will get a little bit tiring, and that's why characters like the Inquisitor coming in, and maybe some big fights happening, some big kind of character kind of feuds will make things even better. But yeah, right now I'm probably most interested maybe right now to get a Sabine episode and kind of just get some of her, again, backstory. I think is important, just to set up what the characters are what they're about, why Sabine's a rebel. Is she from Mandalore? Is she from Concord Dawn, is it? The moon. Is that why she has Mandalorian armor? Why is it pink? And stuff like that. That with all the characters, I think. So I think it's been a fairly positive opening for the series. I think the movie remains the Spark of Rebellion remains the best episode so far, because there was character development in there. There was opening, great intro episode, and a hint of plot. So far, the normal episodes have been good, but I want some plot. But yeah, that's been the review. Definitely in the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on this episode. I was pretty impressed. I found it really fun. I wasn't expecting the Ezra Zeb relationship to be anything special. It'll be just they'll argue the whole time. But actually seeing that they developed in this episode and are actually friends now was actually really fun to see. So I'll just leave it there. But yeah, in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are. Thanks for watching this video, and bye.